Hello friends, welcome to Builds Coaching. In this video, we are going to learn about friction. We come across friction and frictional force lot of time in our everyday life. For example, while running, we need frictional force. While walking, we need frictional force. While driving a car, while riding a bike, even in many games like snooker or in carom, we use friction. So what is friction actually? I'll give you an example. If you try to rub your hand with each other, rubbing is, we can say, closely related to friction. So when two things rub, there is friction between them. When you rub your hands tightly, more heat is generated. And when you rub very slightly, less heat is generated. Similarly, when you put some oil in your hand and then rub them, friction will decrease and less heat will get produced. So now I'll tell you one law. Do you remember first law of motion? First law of motion states that object continues to be in state of rest or of in uniform motion unless some unbalanced external force is exerted on it. Okay. Now I'll take an example. If you roll a ball like this, after some time, ball will come to an halt. Why this ball came to an halt? So there has to be some external force acting on it according to first law of motion, and that force, part of that force is frictional force. So here we can say that frictional force is actually opposing that movement of the ball. Okay, there are two kinds of frictional forces. First, I can say as two types of frictional force. First, we can say as sliding frictional force, and second, we can say as rolling frictional force. So this sliding friction is same as when you rub your hands together or or when you cut something with hacksaw and all, jigsaw and all. Those are called as sliding forces. You slide two things together. And rolling is like driving, riding a bike, rolling a ball. These are rolling friction. Now we'll first discuss about sliding friction, and rolling we'll discuss later. Okay, for the sliding friction, always remember frictions are of two types: static friction and, I'll write it over here, sliding friction, and those are two types. First, it is static, and second is kinematic. Static friction and kinematic friction, these kind of frictions come in both this sliding friction, also in rolling friction, but now I'm discussing about only sliding friction. Sliding friction means if one object is there, for example, if this is the object of mass m and this is the surface, and some person is there who is trying to apply a force over here, F. Now remember a thing, if you try to push this object, you need to apply some force which should overcome this force. Take an example. If you want to move some cupboard or some showcase or anything at your home, even freezer, you need to apply some force, right? If it is on ground, you need to apply some force. And when you apply small force, it doesn't move. After certain force, it starts moving. Okay. So the force which is opposing this movement, it is called as friction. Okay, this is friction, and I can say that this is frictional force. Clear? And there is something called as normal reaction. Normal reaction is actually the weight of that object. Actually weight, I'll write it as here. And I can say that this force which is required to move that object, that is directly proportional to this N. Clear? And I can say that this frictional force, if it has to move, it should overcome this force. This force, frictional force, I can say as mu n. Mu is frictional coefficient or coefficient of friction. I'll write it here. Coefficient of friction. This is a very simple example. Now consider a case over here: static friction and kinematic friction. For static friction, this mu is denoted by mu s. Static friction, coefficient of static friction. This kinematic friction, mu is denoted by mu k, coefficient of kinematic friction. Obviously, there is some difference between those two things, and the force which is generated was static. This is called as static frictional force or static frictional force. This is static and it is kinematic frictional force. Clear? Now, moving ahead, I'll tell you more things. Let me clear this up. When you have some object with you, here, some object of mass m on this ground. Now we'll discuss about only okay, first we'll discuss about kinematic friction. It is very easy. Then we'll discuss about static friction. Okay. If an object, you are applying some force over here, and this is some normal reaction, and you have coefficient of friction between these two surfaces as mu. Mu is coefficient of friction. It depends upon normal reaction, actually mass of this object, and also it depends upon type of material are in contact. I'll tell you why this mu comes actually in existence. Now, if I write it as static friction, the force which is required to just move an object from its rest position. Now this object is at rest. You need to apply some force. For example, this object is of mass 100 kg. Clear? So this normal reaction will be normal. Weight is mass into mg. Then you can say that 100. I'll take as gravity 100 g. Clear? And this is mass. Let us take mu as any constant. I'll take mu as 0.4. Okay, this is dimensionless unit. Mu is 0.4. Now, I'll write F, which is required, will be, I'm talking about only kinematic now. Static I have not yet started. Kinematic friction, I'll say at mu k is equal to mu into normal. What is mu? Mu is 0.4 multiply by what is normal 100 and g. G is gravity. I'll take 10 as gravity constant, so I'll write it as 10 100 into 10 meter per second square. It's very easy, like 9.8 actually we have, but I am writing 10 over here, so we'll cancel this. So it become 400 Newton of force we need to apply for normal reaction of 1000 Newton. Okay, so we'll need to apply this 400 Newton to move this object. This is a kinematic friction. Now I'll give you an example. If this was the kinematic friction which is required. Now I'll take one more thing over here. I'll take this as k as this. I'll write mu as, for same example, I'm writing mu as I'm increasing this value, I'll write as 0.4 because static frictional coefficient is always more. Now Fs will be equal to simple mu s into n. Same thing. What is mu s? What will be the mu s? Mu s will say as 0.6 multiplied by normal is 100 into 10. So I'll write as 600 Newton frictional. This is required to push this object. Now, in this example, now we can say that this force 600 Newton is actually the force which will be required for starting motion. For example, if we apply 100 Newton force, the object will not move. Increase the force 200 Newton, it will not move. What is the static friction required? 600 Newton to actually overcome this static friction. You have some static friction over here, right? So to overcome that frictional force, you need to require 600 Newton. So once you push that object with 600 Newton, then anything above 400 Newton will do. I'll draw a graph over here so that we can understand better. This is 0. Here I'll write as frictional force. I'll write friction. And here I'll write as applied force. Clear? Now to overcome till this point, applied force and frictional force, the beauty is that, remember, understand this case. If you apply 100 Newton, here 100 Newton, so frictional force will be 100 Newton because this is giving equal and opposite reaction, this static friction. If it is 100, this will be also 100. If this is 200, this will be also 200. Same reaction till we reach 600. 300, this will be 300. If we go to 500, this will be 500. So till this point, object is not moving. But when you go to 600, now object is just about to move because force is completely balanced now. If you slightly increase, maybe 110 also, 610 Newton, this object will move now. Because this cannot apply further. This will go to 610 Newton. Okay. And now whichever force is coming, frictional force, that is kinematic friction now, because static part is already done, object is moving now, and whatever force will be coming in this kinematic now. This Fk, this Fs is already gone now. Fk will come into existence because we have already overcome this static friction, and frictional force will be 400 Newton. Now, if we draw a graph, it will something like this. So let me mark something like this. Till 600, it will be like this, 600 Newton. This will be also 600 Newton. After that, a graph will drop and it will continue. This is a graph. This thing, so to start an object in motion from a rest, you need to apply more force. And you need less force to continue this object in motion. This is actually static and this is kinematic. And one more thing, beautiful part is that this force, actually I have told you all this, but why this friction is coming like, okay, remember every object, whichever it might be, every object at microscopic level, it has some depression. It has some, no object is smooth at microscopic level. So when this object try to move with this object, okay, if this object try to move over this object, which is also has some, this crest and trough, actually they kind of rub each other, they get locked inside each other. Okay, they get locked inside each other, this shape. Now if you try to move over rough surface, you need to overcome this force. So because of this, frictional force comes into existence because of this shape. Now one more thing, this shape remains same only. Then why mu s is higher? Means for starting an object you need to have a higher force, and at kinematic when objects start moving you need to apply lesser force. This is because when object is stationary on any surface, it actually, what happens, like it actually gets connected, it gets binded with that surface. So to overcome that locking and all, you need more energy. But once you are in motion at high speed, that time it doesn't come in contact with all the surfaces. Same like if there are a lot of potholes on the road, and if you are riding fast, if you are riding slow, you will come across all the potholes, right? Means when you are riding slow, all the potholes you have to overcome. But when you are riding fast, some of the potholes you went over it. You didn't even touch that. Tires didn't even touch that because you are traveling at high speed. Same happens with this. That is why this kinematic coefficient is lesser as compared to static coefficient. And mostly this kinematic friction is about 75%. I can say that this, I am telling you, generalized equation, actually mostly it is given, you cannot write it like, but still I am telling you static friction, okay, kinematic friction is about 75% of kinematic friction. Okay, for example, here I have taken an example of this 0.4. So static friction is more, kinematic friction is less. If nothing is given, like if object is given a static friction with some, I am giving an example like value 1. So you can say that mu k will be 0.75, 75% of this. This is not always true, but yeah, you can figure it out. Mostly it happens like that. It's about in range like 0.7 to 0.8 kind of. Okay. If it is not given, better to take mu same only for kinetic and all. If it is mentioned, you have to apply. I'll show you a chart. Look at this chart. Here we have many surfaces, glass to glass, steel to steel. You have kinematic friction and static friction already given. So if you have this chart, well and good, you can directly apply the formula. Same thing happens for rolling friction. I'll tell you. Now, rolling friction is that, hope you have understood this part till this part. Now, rolling friction is actually kind of bit complicated compared to sliding friction, but I'll try to explain a very basic concept of it. Okay, this is a tire, this is a road, and object is moving in this direction. This is some beam or something. Fine. Now, when you have a tire, perfect circle, and this road is very straight, so remember, if you have a circle, a line touching that circle at only one point is tangent. It is tangent, so this road is also tangent. So it is actually touching this road. This is ideal case. Practically, you will have some flats and all over here, but ideal case, it will be touching only at one point. Now, look at this one point. A tire, if you want to go in this direction, so tire is moving in this direction, right? Okay, let me draw it properly. In this direction, tire is moving. Here also, tire is moving in this direction. Now, look at this point. If tire is moving in this direction, frictional force is trying to oppose that motion. So frictional force will be in kind of this direction. So frictional force will be in this direction. And because of this less frictional force, when you roll a tire, after some time it comes to an halt. Just like other objects in the sliding. Clear? This direction and this side, and this is frictional force which is acting on it. Now, one more thing is that for this object, always remember there is some force acting on it. So we can say that this force which is there, frictional force, is directly proportional to normal reaction, and this normal reaction, this proportionality sign we can remove by coefficient of rolling friction. We don't have coefficient of static and we have coefficient of rolling friction now. So we can say that frictional of friction of rolling is equal to mu of Rn. This is coefficient of rolling friction. Same formula, no difference. In sliding friction, we have some static friction or kinematic coefficient over here. We have static force or kinematic force over here. Normal is same, just proportionality constantly change accordingly. Clear? Always remember, when you have some static coefficient is always greater than kinematic coefficient is always greater than rolling coefficient of friction. Because when you slide an object, less energy is used for friction. But if you roll, very less energy is required. I'll give you an example. Try to push a book, it will cover a less distance. Try to push a ball, it will cover a more distance before it stops. Because coefficient of rolling differs. This differs. Okay. Now, last part I'll explain you application of frictional force. Frictional force, every time it's not opposes your motion or it is kind of hindrance for your motion. Sometimes it is essential. For example, when you walk and all, it is essential. When you walk, that time, I'll draw a figure over here. When you walk, okay, you can see over here, when you walk, that time, you apply some backward force on the earth. So that force on the earth, for example, I'll draw a figure over here. When you walk, that time you apply some backward force on earth from here, okay? You apply some backward force here, and because of this backward force, you try to move forward. Newton's third law of motion. Every action is equal and opposite reaction. This backward force which you are applying on earth, this is because of friction. If there is no friction, you will slip and you will fall. This is very important. Similarly, when you hold a thing tightly, that time there is frictional force which is you are holding it because of friction. Kind of, okay? If you don't have friction, hold it slightly. If you don't have friction, it will fall. Same thing. Now, there are also situations when many work, like when you are cutting something with jigsaw and hacksaw and all, that time lot of heat is generated because of friction, and that is a loss for us. But we cannot actually overcome that. Because of that, we apply coolant and all. That is why we use engine oil for vehicles, and many machines have coolant and all for this purpose. This fire and all, the fire came into existence because of friction. When two stones rub with each other, that force, that time a spark is generated because of friction only, heat energy. And that energy was used to, and that heat energy resulted in fire. Okay. So done. This thing with friction. And one more thing of friction is remaining, I'll tell you. These are on planar objects actually. There are objects like sometimes a road is like this. An object is situated over here in sliding motion. That time we have some different thing. That time the mass is over here. We'll have to draw some free body diagram and we'll have to equate the friction. And this is the reason, actually this time some weight component falls over this side, which actually supports the friction. This we'll discuss in our next video, inclined motion for friction. Friction on inclined surfaces. Okay. So hope you like this video. Please do like, share, subscribe to our channel. If you have anything related to this friction concept, please ask us. And one more thing, if apart from my examples, you have some examples in your mind, please let me know in your comment box. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for being with us and supporting us. Do share our video with friends, families and relatives. Thank you.